We are discussing about the errors or topological errors in GIS. So error can be intentionally introduced in GIS data, can be unintentional. Most commonly generalization, which is used to reduce the amount of detail in a dataset, will introduce errors by removing the aspects of a feature. There is some other way, means the introduction of error is the trademarking sometimes found within data set by some commercial GIS vendors. For instance, the GIS data vendor may insert false street or fake street names into the data set. So we can never forget that inaccuracy, imprecision, and the resulting error may be compounded in a GIS project, means added up when we need to employ more than one data source. So in this type of projects, one error will lead to another, compounding its effect on the analysis and affecting the entire project. For this reason, becomes very clear that the best way to avoid dangers or the cause of this propagation of error would always be to prepare a data quality report of data created by the GIS users, even if they do not plan to share the data with others. So a report will do. The use of metadata, that means the data about the data or the information about the data, is one of the first tools that any GIS user should consult in order to know more about the data that he is using and to avoid adding more error to a data that in any case will never be perfect. So any good metadata should always include some basic information like age of the data, the origin, the area that it would cover, the scale, the projection system, the accuracy, and the format. When we come to accuracy and quality, the data accuracy and quality, the quality of data sources of GIS processing is becoming an ever increasing concern about GIS application specialists. With the influx of GIS software on the commission market and the acceleration or accelerating application of GIS technology to problem solving and decision making roles, the quality and reliability of GIS product is coming under closer scrutiny. Much concern has been raised as to relative error that may be inherent in GIS processing method already. While research is going on, and no finite standards have yet been adopted in the commercial GIS marketplace, several practical recommendations have been identified with the help to locate possible error sources and define the quality of data. We have a review of data quality which focuses on three distinct components. First is the data accuracy, then we have the quality, and then the error. So what is accuracy? The basic issue with respect to data is the accuracy. Accuracy is the closeness of results of observation to the true values or values accepted being true. So this implies that observation of most spatial phenomena are usually only considered to be estimates of true value. The difference between the observed and the true, and they are accepted as being true. So these true values, observed and true values, indicates the accuracy of the observation. And basically, two types of accuracy does exist. These are positional and attribute accuracy. Positional accuracy is the expected deviation or deviance in the geographic location of an object from its true ground position. That is what we commonly think of when the term accuracy is discussed. So there are two components in this positional accuracy. These are relative and absolute accuracy. Absolute accuracy concerns the accuracy of data elements with respect to a coordinate scheme, that is, for example, say UTM. And relative accuracy concerns the positioning of map features relative to one another. And often this relative accuracy is of greater concern than the absolute accuracy. For instance, most GIS users can live with the fact that their survey township coordinate do not coincide exactly with the survey fabric. However, in the absence of one or two parcel from the text map, that can have immediate and costly consequences. Attribute accuracy is equally as important as the positional accuracy, and it reflects estimate of the truth. So interpreting and depicting boundaries and characteristics for forest land or say soil polygons, this can be exceedingly difficult and subjective. So most resource specialists will attest to this fact, and accordingly the degree of homogeneity found within such mapped boundaries is not nearly as high in reality as it would appear to be on most of the maps. Then we come to the quality after accuracy. Quality can simply be defined as the fitness for use for certain specific data set. Data that is appropriate for use with one application may not be fit for use with another. So it is fully dependent on the scale, the accuracy and extent of the data set, as well as the quality of other data sets to be used. For example, the recent US SDTS, this is Special Data Transfer Standard, identifies 5 components to data quality definition. And these are the lineage, the positional accuracy, the attribute accuracy, the logical consistency, and the completeness. What is lineage? The lineage of data is concerned with the historical and compilation aspect of data, like the source of the data, the content of the data capture specifications, geographic coverage of the data, the compilation method of the data, the digitizing versus the scan, and the transformation methods applied to the data, and the use of pertinent algorithm during compilation, for example, linear simplification or feature generalization. When it comes to positional accuracy, the identification of positional accuracy is important. This would include consideration of inherent error, that is the source error, and the operational error, which is the introduced errors. We'll see about that. Attribute accuracy, this is the consideration of the accuracy of attributes. This also helps to define the quality of the data. So this quality component concerns the identification of the reliability, the level of purity, that is the homogeneity in a data set. The logical consistency means this component is concerned with the determining or finding out the faithfulness of the data structure of the data set. So this typically involves spatial data inconsistencies such as incorrect line intersections, duplicate lines, or the boundaries or the gaps in the lines. These are referred to as the spatial or topological errors. Then comes the completeness. The final quality component involves a statement about the completeness of the data set. This includes the consideration of holes in the data, certain unclassified or areas which are unclassified, then any compilation process that may have caused data to be eliminated. So the ease with which the geographic data in GIS can be used at any scale, this highlights the importance of detailed data quality information. Although a data set may not have a specific scale once it is loaded into GIS database, it was produced with say levels of accuracy and resolution that make it appropriate for use for only certain scales and in combination with data of similar scales. When it comes to error, two sources of error, as we discussed earlier also, inherent and operational. This contribute to the reduction in the quality of the products that are generated by GIS. Inherent error is the error present in the source document and the data. The operational error is the amount of error produced through the data capture and manipulation function of the GIS. And we have possible sources of operational errors, which is the mislabeling of areas on thematic maps, misplacement of horizontal or positional boundaries, human error in digitizing, the classification errors, the algorithm inaccuracies of GIS, and the human bias. So while this error will always exist in any scientific process, the aim within GIS processing is to identify existing errors in data sources and try to minimize the amount of error added during the processing. And because of the cost constraint, it is often more appropriate to manage error than attempt to eliminate it. And this is again a trade-off between reducing the level of error in the database and the cost to create and maintain the database. So an awareness of the error status of different data set will allow user to make a subjective assessment on the quality and reliability of the product derived from GIS processing, and the validity of any decision based on GIS product is directly related to the quality and reliability rating of the product. And depending upon the level of error inherent in the source data and the error operationally produced through the data capture and manipulation, GIS products may possess significant amount of errors. One of the major problems currently existing within GIS is the aura of accuracy surrounding digital geographic data. Often hard copy map sources include map reliability rating or confidence rating in the map region, and this rating helps the user in determining the fitness for use for certain map. But rarely is this information encoded in the digital conversion processes. Often because GIS data is in digital form and can be represented with a high precision, it is considered to be totally accurate. In reality, the buffer exists around each feature, which represent the actual positional location of the feature. For example, data captured at 1:20,000 scale commonly has a positional accuracy of plus minus 20 meter. This means that the actual location of feature may vary 20 meters in the either direction from the identified position of the feature on the map. And considering that the use of GIS commonly involves the integration of several datasets, usually at different scale and quality, the one can easily see how errors may be additive that can be propagated during the processing. We have some examples of areas of uncertainty for overlaying data. Several comments and guidelines on the recognition and assessment of error in GIS processing have been promoted in various papers on the subject. So let us summarize them. There is a need for developing error statements for data contained within GIS. The integration of data from different sources and in different original formats like point, line, and polygons or areas at different original scales and processing inherent errors can result or can yield a project of questionable accuracy. The accuracy of GIS derived product is dependent on the characteristics inherent in the source product and on user requirements such as scale of the desired output products and the methods and resolution of data encoding which was said in Marble. The highest accuracy of any GIS output product can only be as accurate as the least accurate data theme of information involved in the analysis. And also the accuracy of data decreases as the spatial resolution becomes more coarse. As the number of layers in the analysis increases, the number of possible opportunities of error would increase. So the scale, accuracy and resolution in GIS, because this GIS data is stored in very different way than the paper map data, the relationship between the map scale, the data accuracy, the resolution and density are very different between GIS and the paper maps. So the map scale specifies the amount of reduction between the real world and its geographic representation, usually a paper map. So it is usually expressed in the ratio like we just saw 1:20,000, which is equivalent, say 1 millimeter is equal to 20 meters. Since a paper map is always the same size, scale is fixed when it is printed and it cannot change. But a map in a GIS can be shrunk or enlarged at will on the screen and on paper. So you can zoom it until the screen displays a square meter or less, or zoom out until the screen displays nothing of all the map. This means that the geographical data in GIS does not really have a map scale. When it comes to display scale, the display scale of a map is a scale at which it looks right, because a paper map is created at certain scale, so its map scale and display scale are the same. So the display scale influences two things in the map. The amount of detail, that is, map should not be overwhelmed with the details and becomes too crowded, and the size and placement of text and symbols. So these must be sized to be readable at the display scale and place so that they do not overlap each other. So if you put a 1:20,000 scale paper map on a reducing photocopier, you can make it say it into 1:100,000 map, that is reduce it by a factor of 5. But probably areas of detail will be merged into big black blobs and most of the text on the map will be too small to read. A GIS map notation or annotation, that is you put text and symbol out there, must be designed with a display scale just like a paper map. So there is a range of scale in which it would look right, even though it is possible to display it at other scales with the GIS software. When it comes to data accuracy and uncertainty, data accuracy is a statement of how closely a bit of data represents the real world. So it applies to geographical information in all these ways: what features have been omitted, what non-existent features are represented, how correct is their classification, how current is the data, how far away is a map feature from its actual location in the world. So this last, or the locational accuracy, is of interest. This is generally stated in terms of uncertainty. For example, 95% of the well locations are within 50 meters of their surveyed location. A rigorous statement of accuracy will include statistical measures of uncertainty and variation, as well as how and when the information was collected. The spatial data accuracy is independent of map scale and display scale and should be stated in ground measurement unit. The data resolution, this is the smallest difference between the adjacent position that can be recorded. Since a paper map is always the same size, its data resolution is tied to its scale. And resolution also limits the minimum size of the features that can be stored. Generally, a line cannot be drawn much narrower than say half a millimeter. Therefore, a 1 is to 20,000 scale paper map, the minimum distance which can be represented, that is the resolution, is about 10 meter. On a 250,000 scale paper map, the resolution is 125 meter. But most GIS store location in ground units, that is the UTM coordinates or lat long, with a resolution of a centimeter or less. So this resolution is far greater than the uncertainty of any environment data. Then comes the raster data resolution. Raster data is stored as pixels, usually square, so which form a grid or mesh over an area of the earth. So the size of these pixels determine the resolution of the raster, because it is impossible to store anything which falls between the pixels. So a GIS allows raster pixels to be any size, although they should not be smaller than the uncertainty of the data. So if a raster coverage is derived from vector line work, its pixel should not be smaller than the uncertainty in the line work. So it is common from say an air photo or a satellite image, its pixel should not be smaller than the resolution of the camera that recorded it. Then comes the data density. This is a measure of how many features per area are stored and may imply the minimum feature size. So greater density implies more feature in a given area, therefore the features may be smaller. And the density of paper map data is limited by its scale, and therefore its resolution. The area, that is the polygons, cannot be shown if they are smaller than the lines which draw them. For instance, a polygon less than 250 meters wide cannot be drawn on a 1 is to 250,000 scale map. This minimum size also limits the number of polygons that can be represented in a given area of a paper map. A GIS stores its data digitally, so the minimum size of the feature is limited only by the resolution, which is effectively infinitesimal. So where the degree of detail in a coverage is arbitrary, for example a soil polygon, a data definition or convention should specify the minimum size of the feature and therefore their density also. And without this, different parts of the same coverage may have widely varying degrees of detail, influencing analysis results. The data detail is a measure of how much information is stored for each feature. The GIS store lines like lake shoreline as a sequence of point location and draws it with edges that join them. So there is a limit to how many points can be stored and how close together they can be. The amount of details on line feature should be limited just like the data density. So it does not make sense to store point at intervals which are shorter than the accuracy of their location. Then GIS analysis. In GIS analysis is done at the resolution of the data, not at any particular display scale. For instance, the area of a habitat polygon is calculated on the nearest square centimeter. Then the GIS will carry much more resolution through its calculation than are justified by the data accuracy. So the results of this calculation should be rounded to a value appropriate to the uncertainty of the data for reporting. And some operation may result in features which are smaller than the data uncertainty. For instance, overlaying rivers or forest polygons may create slivers along the river banks which are say 10 meter wide when the uncertainty of the data is 20 meter. So these slivers should be ignored or say included with their neighbors before the result of the overlay are used for further analysis. Then the separation of data and annotation. It is common to display the same data, for example wildlife management unit boundaries at several different scale for different purposes. So it is also possible to create symbols and text that look right at several different scales and stores them apart from the data they label. For example, management unit boundaries could be stored in one provincial coverage, and annotation layer could be developed for labeling them at say display scales of 1 is to 20,000, 1 is to 250,000 and 1 is to 2 into 10 to the power 6. So if done carefully, this avoids duplication of the same data for display at different scales. Then comes the generalization. In a GIS, it is possible to create a new coverage by reducing the amount of detail in the existing coverage. So this generalizing may or may not reduce the number of objects in the coverage. For example, a detailed forest cover map may be generalized by combining polygons with similar characteristics. So this reduces the number of objects in the coverage. Conversely, a detailed ecosystem classification map may be generalized by reducing the amount of detail in the boundaries between regions without reducing the number of regions. So generalizing a raster image, usually reduces both the number of objects and the amount of details. Then the map series, it is convenient to identify a series of paper map by their scale, that is 7:50,000 water atlas, or the amount of earth they cover. So neither of these are well suited to GIS data. GIS data can be displayed at any scale and can be manipulated as a seamless coverage for either analysis or display. So a GIS coverage should be identified by its accuracy, that is the uncertainty, and the data density or minimum feature size. So this was about the data accuracy and the imprecision and the problem that we need to understand. And whenever we are dealing with GIS data and presenting it, we need to understand that what may be the cause and how we can minimize it. Thank you so much.